Hello, and welcome to the 9th episode of the Team Lathrop Mortgage Podcast. I'm Jeff Lathrop.
And I'm Bill Lathrop.
And we are here in September to give you a recap, another weekly recap of what's going on in the market. We think that keeping current matters, which is actually where we're getting some statistics from and doing a little bit of a recap reaction this week to the stats we're seeing published in the marketplace versus our experience of what we're actually seeing out there. And that's the preface for today's episode. So, Bill, why don't you start us off with some insights, and we'll get rolling here.
Yeah, most of these reports are nationally based, but just for like inventory basis, there's been a less than 10% adjustment in inventory in the state of Washington. So that's our key factor we're dealing with. What leads to everything, real estate, lending combined. How many homes are on the market, which leads to it being a seller's market right now, and hoping we'll see more inventory created. One statistic that came out from National Association of Realtors that if we doubled our current inventory, the market could still absorb it. So that tells you how little inventory we do have.
So does that mean that if you double the inventory, our number of months of supply would stay the same?
Basically, because there's enough people. If there was that much inventory out there, there's enough people that could take it down. So it would move that quickly. That's why there's such a challenge to get a house, because you and I both know, well, we just had an example in our office the other day. 2 other LOs, each had a client make an offer on the same house. And unfortunately, they both missed out because somebody paid cash, I think, or something like that. So,
wow.
But yeah, that's how crazy it kind of is, and you don't notice it until you become a buyer. That's why, it boils back to getting pre-approved. If you think you're going to buy something in the next 6 months, do it today. I mean, not buy, get pre-approved today and get ready to go, because it could be a month, it could be 12 months. But that way you're ahead of the game and you've got all your ducks in a row and you're ready to make a much more successful endeavor.
And so you're talking about pre-approval, bank statements, pay stubs, W-2, or business returns if you're self-employed, basically the full shebang, and then let your loan officer submit that to an underwriter, get a real approval, and then go make your offers. Don't just say, hey, yippee, I'm pre-approved, because pre-approvals, pre-qualifications are nothing more than an initial conversation to say, hey, this is where we think you are, but let's look at your stuff and actually get brass tacks.
Absolutely. The pre-approval is key because the underwriters looked at it, so now it's just subject to the property. All your stuff is taken care of. So it's not, and that is the biggest question mark, of the loan purchase. So that's taken care of. So now it's just the property. And then it's the appraisal and any property conditions that might exist. So and it's never too early. I keep beating that with it over the head, so I'll just quit that. But it's never too early to get that done in this market because of the inventory issue, and the opportunities out there are limited. And utilize the products your lender has to offer, because everybody could be a different situation. I ran into one this past week. I had a client that recommended they had a home to sell. So I recommended they do our step-up program where it guarantees the sale of their house, and then they got 4 months to sell it on their own after. And there's no contingency. It removes that from their offer, so they're golden. Said, nope, don't want to do that. And so then they go to make an offer this week, and they got beat up by an offer that could close in 2 weeks. And see, that's what you're up against. It's not just an easy game out there. So you want to take advantage of every tool that you may need to get into position. Now, if she could have got her offer accepted and sold her home in 2 weeks, she might have done it without a bridge loan and still closed with a regular loan. So take advantage of the tools, know the guidelines, the ins and outs of them, and be ready to roll.
And that's not us being pushy in any way. That's us speaking from experience and saying, hey, this is what we've seen happen. We care about your experience going through this process, not just with us. I mean, hopefully we're a great part of that, and that's the ego part of that, saying hopefully we do a great job. But ultimately, the core of this is hopefully you have a good experience buying a home. We really do think that we can help with that. And when we speak about you got to do it this way or that way, that's because we're passionate about hoping you don't have a mistake, because we have seen mistakes. Maybe we've made our own mistakes and learned so much from that we really think that's a skill set that can be helpful.
Well said, because it's taking advantage of the tools that are available. Every loan doesn't need those tools, but your situation may require those. And if you have them in your corner and you can win the game. And it's like calling a football play. I'm going to call a play I know is going to work. I'm not going to run the ball if you guys got the best rushing defense out there. So bottom line is be prepared, know what you're up against, and don't just think, oh, the seller's going to accept my contingent offer because I'm going to write him a nice letter.
Yeah, because then that's fourth down and whatever, and you're hoping it works out.
It's kind of a Hail Mary.
Yeah.
But it may work out because you could be awesome and they love you and your family, etc. But in reality, it comes down to nickels and dimes. And most sellers are in this thing to walk away with what they need to get to their next position. And we want to give you that tool or that weapon to go in there and win the battle. And so it's if everybody's the same, it was a simple deal, be a piece of cake. But it's challenging in this market, and we want to make sure you win when you go out there. You're equipped to go.
And so maybe that can kind of move us on to where interest rates currently are. I think they're in a place that allows the market to be less competitive than it would be if interest rates were lower. The only fortunate side right now is that appreciation is slowing. So we're not appreciating as quickly, which is somewhat good, but prices are still not coming down. Rates are staying up. And that kind of leaves us in this situation where we're just really hungry and thirsty for more real estate.
Yeah, that's a key comment there you make is it's not depreciating. It's appreciating less at a lower level. So it's still going up. Home prices for 23 are on the upside. 4 out of like the 6 people in this article have predicted lower prices this year, one by 20%. Now they've all predicted it's going up. So they all felt that with the rates going up, everything would change. It didn't or hasn't. And sellers are enjoying that and that type of thing. So you got to be ready to roll and be aware of what your market's like. So this report comes out nationally, but in Washington, we've been pretty stable, especially down here in Thurston County. Just because inventory issues. And if you go out and find that house, there aren't 3 of them you're falling in love with. There's one. And so you want to be able to get that one.
And so does that make it still a pretty strong seller's market?
Absolutely.
And so you're not really seeing concessions or crazy price reductions, or you're still seeing pretty much sellers are getting their listing price, maybe a little bit more, and you're pretty much coming in straight up.
I think so. It varies between the seller, obviously, as a human being. And it also varies with the listing agent. If they're dealing with local listing agents to Thurston County, I feel they're more in tune with our market and what it's like down here. And I love working with agents in Thurston County. Agents outside of the county aren't as familiar with our area, unless it happens to be your aunt or uncle, you're listing their home. I get that, but they're not as familiar. And so that's key. And I think that relates all the way back to another point is local listing agents and maybe even outside listing agents love to deal with local lenders because they know their performance level and what's going on with the people in their marketplace. So that's another ingredient that you want to go out there with your best, quiver with your arrows to shoot. Then you want to deal with somebody local. It makes a difference. We will call your listing agent when you make an offer, and hopefully they'll know who we are in this market, and that will carry some weight. Along with we believe in going with the security plus approval, which gives that seller reassurance. If you don't close, we're giving them $5,000. We're not going to give them $5,000. It comes out of Jeff's pocket.
No, but that's something Evergreen Home Loans, we do guarantee close on time. If you go through the proper pre-approval process and get all the way pre-approved like we keep talking about, we will be able to place a $5,000 guarantee on that. And just like you said, you submit your offer and say, hey, here's a guaranteed closing time, or we'll actually pay you. That's not just lip service and saying, hey, we're great and we did our diligence and we're going to go through with it. We said, hey, we put our money where our mouth is. This is good to go. So
if you were a seller and you got 2 offers that had the same price and one guaranteed you $5,000 if it didn't work, which one would you pick? It's pretty obvious, I think, and that's worked in the past because it does make sense. So yeah, I think in general too, the other thing is the activity level out there is picking up a bit. We're seeing people, but it's tough. I mean, we're talking rates, at the 6s and 7s.
I've actually seen some. Yesterday I was pricing out a rate and I've seen into the 8s, depending on credit score. And obviously interest rates is a whole different discussion because they're all over the place. It could be from 6 to 8. And I actually did the same customer, 2 different loan programs. It was like high sixes versus high sevens, low eights. So pretty big difference based on where their credit score was sitting. You really thought, hey, you're going to go this loan program. And then we looked at pricing. Actually, this loan program might be better for now. And then if rates do drop, we can reassess and see what you want to do in the future.
Well, I think that's key because with the rates where they're at, that means a certain sector of the market can make this affordable and others cannot. So that puts you in that elite group that can afford to buy in this market. Then we all believe, along with the experts, that in the future, 2024 plus, we'll see a lightening of these rates and something come down. Then you might have the opportunity to refinance and save some money. But
if we don't, and you're waiting for that time to come to buy the house is going to keep appreciating. Even if it's appreciating slower, it's still appreciating.
And when the rates come down, what's going to happen?
Everybody's going to hit the market and say, oh, let's do it. I've been waiting. And then it's crazy town again.
You got that competition going again. And because we're not able to increase that inventory number, because a lot of people pulled back from putting their home on the market because they're sitting there at a 3.5% rate and they don't want to change.
Here's another key detail. At the beginning of this year, there was 600-something thousand loan officers. Now there's 300-something thousand. And by the end of the year, there should be only 30% of that number remaining.
30% of the number that started.
The number that started. Okay, so what I mean to say is when rates do drop and people start going to make all these offers, there's not that many loan officers left in the business. They're going to be busy and they're going to be working as fast as they can to call everybody back. But it's going to be a lot easier to do a transaction in this market when your loan officer has time to call you back and walk everything through and take the time to explain the financing, because it's a little bit less competitive on the buying side. Once that buying side gets more competitive, you've got a lot less time to figure out your financing and get those offers going. So
there's a lot more to it than sign here. Everybody's loan app is different. Everybody's details are different. And it's our job to cut and paste and put everything together to make you a strong buyer and package your stuff the best way we can for you to compete. That doesn't happen in one phone call per se. It's sit down and go through the details. Some are slam dunk. That's true. It's easy. But first time through this, you definitely want to go through and break down those details so you understand it. And so you're in position to make that offer the way you feel comfortable with it. And if you're qualified in this market, that's awesome, because you're above the rest right now. And so you want to take advantage of that while you can, because if the rates come down, then you're going to see, like Jeff said, more competition, more challenges, and then more lag. You won't be able to get that type of thing. I also believe dealing with a local lender is great because they will call you back on your time zone, weekends, evenings, whatever you need, so we get the deal, done for you. Because everybody's working hard these days, Monday through Friday. You got kids, you got family commitments. We want to fit in there in the gaps to make it work for you and get it done.
Well, and I can even speak to that. I had a loan application I was working on yesterday, and I had to kind of get my family fed, baby off strolling, and then I had some time to work on this loan application, called the client. They were kind of just in the inverse of what I was doing. So they had kids waiting on them. They were just about to go be with the kids. I was just done with my daughter and getting ready to work. And so we had that overlap at about, I don't know if it was 7:30 or 8:30 p.m., late in the evening. And that's the time that worked for both of us to be able to get on that phone call. And not everything happens during business hours, especially if you have a job and you're employed. You're probably working during business hours, which means I'm going to need to work non-business hours in order to be able to communicate with you and help you out. And that's definitely something that I enjoy about this job. And that flexibility seems to be pretty crucial detail, but that's going to vary. You can find somebody that has a child and works late anywhere. So that's not unique to me, but that is unique to finding someone that matches up with you and that your time frames align, and that if you need someone to call you back at 8 a.m., do you have a morning person? If you need to talk to somebody after the kids go down, do you have an evening person? What's your service provider like? And can they really serve you the way that you want to be, the way you want to be met?
Yeah, and I think the one thing that does happen during business hours, that's when rates are active. That's when you get your quotes. That's when things happen. Then they close. And we will, lock rates over a weekend. A lot of lenders won't do that. And take advantage of that situation, make sure your offer has all the strength that it needs. And out of state lenders, different time zone, hard, challenge to reach them. I mean, all these things come into play. You're going to make that decision on what you want to do. But the other thing, in a seller's market, a lot of sellers think, hey, I don't need an agent. I can sell this home myself. You know, wrong. I mean, bottom line, the agent doesn't sell your house. The house sells your house. Your house will sell itself. But the agent gets the buyer through that whole process, inspections, appraisal, title, all the issues that take place, coordination that most sellers, a lot of them maybe don't remember, getting your septic pumped, all these details have to be taken care of and done. And it makes a huge difference in having your house ready to go and the people involved. If I was selling my house today, I wouldn't do it myself. And I've been doing this in my business for a long time, but I'm not a real estate agent. I was at one time, but hey, there's too much going on that side of the coin. You know, you
stay in your lane, do your one thing. There's too much on each side of those coins to try to maybe do both, or right?
Well, that's why you hire a professional. I mean, it sounds corny maybe, but agents know what they're doing, and they do it. That's what they do for a living. They need an inspector. They hire an inspector. They don't tell you they're going to inspect it. They hire the pros. They're the pro. So work with them, get it done. And we try to work with them too, because we want to have the professional image as well, so they can rely on us like you rely on them. And those things are key. And I think that's really important, especially in these goofy markets. You know, back there in the unicorn years, a couple years back, people just put homes on market, didn't do work orders, you know, and I think that was a tough time. That's not reality. This is reality. People are spending a lot of money for homes. You got payments to deal with. You're qualifying. It's going to be your home. You want it to be done right. You want to get carried through the transaction properly. So you need people on your side.
Absolutely. All right. Well, Saturday, as we're kind of wrapping up our podcast, there are some important non-market related things going on. Like we've got Husky football kicking off here in just a couple of hours.
Some important, some non-important. Yeah. They kick off 2:00 against Tulsa. Should be a good one for the Dogs. Go Huskies. Hey, the other thing I want to shout out to that you and I got to participate in to the Thurston County Realtors Association on Thursday, had their local golf tournament. And so all the local vendors were out there, all the real estate agents, everybody having a great time. And it was fun to participate in that on a beautiful sunny day in September in Olympia. That was beautiful. Plus, they donated, I believe, over $5,000 to the Thurston County Food Bank, which is a fantastic fundraiser and needed in our marketplace. It's just great to be able to go to functions like that and participate because, COVID, you couldn't do those kinds of things. And these kinds of functions aren't out there everywhere to get everybody together. And it's fun to see all of our people in our industry out there having a good time and for a good cause.
Well, and when you see people in person, you do realize, this is going to sound so cheesy and corny, but you realize how much people do care. The day after the Thurston County Realtors Golf Association was a Thurston County Realtors Association general membership meeting. So a good number of realtors there and elected officials as well present, kind of talking about, what their platform is and their stance, and really seeing the heart of people. You just don't get that via the post. And I know we're podcasting right now and it's not going to come across the same, but seeing that in the room with them, I was like, oh, I've seen people say that before and it sounded so corny, like, oh, I just love to serve and my heart is here. My heart is here to serve. But I really did feel that yesterday, listening to some people explain themselves, and it had a big impact on me. So
the passion they had with their speech is a lot different than reading an article. Absolutely. And for the realtors to get those people in there so we get to hear them, who they've endorsed, and what their thoughts are for Thurston County, that's huge. And I think it's our job to spread that word, to make sure you get out there and vote in November, but go and see who's running for the offices in your area and pay attention to that, because that is our future, who's going to lead us in certain directions. So absolutely.
Well, and it did make me even more excited to vote after listening to the people talk about why they're running and what they're running for. And if you just this is kind of a side rant, but if you never get involved in any of the political stuff on your local level, it's going to seem so boring, and a lot of people are not interested to go vote. And it's really important that you do that. So that's my quick little spiel and rant. Go vote, get educated, try to know what's going on, and use your voice, what little voice that we still have left, to be heard.
Yeah, listen to what they have to say, because there's a lot of passion between those people that are running for office, because it's a job. Yeah, nobody gets to do anything for, without any effort anymore. They're giving their time and their commitment to make Thurston County a better place.
And it gave me some local pride. I felt we do live in a beautiful area geographically, and I love seeing the passion of our local residents that feel the same way. So
Yeah, that was great. It was two great days, and here we're followed with a third day. Hopefully Huskies pull it off and make it a fantastic day. And then you got the Seahawks tomorrow, got the Mariners today. I mean, should be an all-sports weekend as usual. And
that'll be awesome unless you're driving, because I've heard rumors that I-405, a major part of the whole traffic scenario, is down to one lane. And that's a killer when you have freeway that's already a nightmare and it's down to 25% of its capacity.
And that's until Monday morning. And you've got a home Husky game on Montlake, and you've got a home Seahawk game
on Sunday, yeah.
You know, at oh my gosh, the stadium in Seattle. And so how they Lumen Field, sorry about that. How they time that, they couldn't have picked a better time.
That's right. Okay, well, we'll wrap up this 9th podcast here now, and we will see you guys next week for episode 10.
Sounds great. Thanks, Jeff.
Take care.